Today I'm going to share with you the career secret that helped a complete knucklehead create such a solid professional brand that he 28x'd his income and rocketed him all the way to the C-suite. The inside scoop is it's not about working harder. It's about packaging and showcasing your massive value in a way that creates your ultimate professional brand. You cannot afford to be ignored any longer. So buckle up, folks. We're going to help you revolutionize your career starting right now. And by the way, how do I know this story? Well, because that knucklehead is me. Let's go. So today we're going to go over the big kahuna, learning how to build your ultimate professional brand. This is going to be so immensely valuable for you and help that career of yours to take off. Some of what we're going to share is known by very, very few, so hold on tight because we're about to turn up the volume on your career success. So we need to get aligned on what is a professional brand. A professional brand is the label that others put on you in the working world. It's their perception of you and includes such things as your personality, your communication style, the value that you bring to the table, what you stand for, your strengths, your weaknesses. Are you easy to work with or are you not so easy to work with? And your brand transcends both in person and online for all of you social media buffs. Your professional brand is synonymous with you. You are your brand. Everything you do either strengthens that brand or dilutes your brand. And because of this, your professional brand is perhaps the most important thing you have in your career. What's critically important here is that you want to carefully and thoughtfully influence the building of your brand for what you want yet to come in your career, not what you currently have in your career. So if you're a nobody right now and you want to become the president of the company someday, you need to start building your professional brand now in a way that justifies you becoming the president someday in the future. After all, the future of your career depends on your professional brand. So before we get into how to influence your professional brand, my name is C. I'm a senior executive by day and secret YouTuber at night on a mission to revolutionize your career and your income. You wonder why you see zero executives here sharing what actually works or cutting through the BS? Well, that's what this disguise allows me to do and still protect my family and my career. My goal is simply to help as many people as possible accelerate their career success and maximize their money. Let's go. So how do you influence the building of your professional brand? Your brand largely comes down to two key factors: how you come across at work with other people, and two, the value you bring to the table. That's it. That is your brand. That's also why I focus much of this series on building the right foundation for your career, which is how you come across and work with other people. And as far as value goes, if you haven't figured out by now my thoughts on the importance of delivering massive value, well then you can watch the earlier videos in the series. Now, while you have influence over both 1 and 2, you definitely have more control over the value and the perception of that value that you bring to the table. So the first part, how you come across and work with other people. As I mentioned earlier, you want to carefully and thoughtfully influence the building of your brand for what you want yet to come in your career, not what you currently have. So I want you to think about where it is you want to go in your career and do a little online research, even speak with a few folks who are already at that level that you want to get to on what it takes to be successful at that level. Let me use my own story as an example. Early in my career, I was a low-level pipsqueak, stuck for years in the lowest entry-level management role you can imagine. That was until I came up with a plan and decided I was going to climb all the way to the C-suite. Now, I had no business coming up with such a bold and audacious plan, but I did it anyways. And wouldn't you know, I started climbing quickly And in just a few moves, I made it to the C-suite of a publicly traded company and accomplished my goal. So I want you to do the same. Find out the characteristics of those at the level that you want to get to and start to embody those in your day-to-day work. You still want to be you, but you want to use those to help influence how you come to work and your professional brand. If there's one characteristics that I would most recommend for folks, it would be to be as highly collaborative with everyone you come in contact with as you can. This will never ever steer you wrong. It'll always help you to be successful in your career. Now for the second part of your professional brand, the value that you bring to the table. And again, this is something that you have even more control over than the first one. Let's look at how companies influence their own brands for a moment. One of the major ways that companies influence their brands is through marketing and shaping the perceptions of their customers and others. If you want to influence your professional brand, then you too need some marketing. I mentioned earlier that your professional brand transcends both the in-person as well as online personas. For that reason, you need to have a plan for both internal marketing within your company, as well as external marketing within your industry. Oh no, you're probably thinking that he's going to tell us to toot our own horn. No. Tooting your own horn is braggy and negative to your brand. Definitely don't do this. So how can you influence how others perceive you at work and not come across as a braggy little shit? Well, it's by tooting the horn of other people. This is what I like to call team tooting. So team tooting is rather simple, yet is very powerful for several reasons. You are in control of doing it. You get to choose when to acknowledge the great work of others, which provides recognition for them, and this increases their appreciation of you and also shows your leadership. Hopefully you are also on the team, so the recognition for the team success impacts you, even though you were the one that brought up what the team did and didn't toot your own horn. Just make sure you do this in a truly thankful and appreciative way, highlighting the value, the measurable value that the team brought to the business, and you'll be all set. Oh, and don't team toot too often or it will lose its impact. I'd like to know how you've successfully influenced your professional brand within your company or industry. Share your tips in the comments below so that everyone can learn from what you know. Now, I'd love to cover other internal marketing strategies such as the important difference between mentors and sponsors, and trust me, you want a sponsor. But we're running out of time, so I'm going to save that for the free training in the description. Let's shift over to external marketing of your brand, one of my personal favorites, as I've got a few tips here that might just blow your mind. So first and foremost, external marketing is the area you have the most control over. Second, it influences not only the folks in your company, but the entire industry and even the entire professional world. It sets the stage for you to land any future jobs you might take and hopefully make a lot more money at. Now, if you're not the type that likes to get all salesy about yourself, you're in luck. It's not about being braggy. It's about sharing the facts about the massive value that you've delivered in your career. The numbers, remember the measurable value. That's it. If you're concerned, by the way, about not yet delivering massive value in your career, well, then it's time to get going. So chop chop. See the earlier videos in this series for more information. So external marketing essentially breaks into three pieces: your rockstar resume, your luscious LinkedIn profile, and networking. You're going to jump straight into the first two right now. So your rockstar resume, the two big considerations here are communicating your professional brand, and the second is showcasing the specific value, hopefully massive value, that you've delivered across your career. So how does your professional brand come across on your resume? Some of you might be thinking, what? My resume has my name, my address, and a few companies I've worked for. Well, if that is all, then you really need to consider how your professional brand comes across on your resume. Why is this important? Remember, for most that see your resume, they haven't worked with you before. They don't already have a perception of you. Your resume is where you need to set that perception. For example, if your resume has one of those starters that says something like, seeking a challenging job in field X where I can use my considerable skills to fondle your... No. Get rid of that I'm seeking baloney at the beginning and replace it with an executive summary. And no, you don't have to be an executive to have an executive summary. It's just a summary that acts as a resume within your resume. In other words, if all they read was your executive summary, they would really get all that they need from your resume. And by the way, I hate to break it to you, but all they usually read is your executive summary. Most recruiters and companies are expecting to see an executive summary, so you need to have one and work your professional brand all through that executive summary, as well as the rest of your resume. Now, I've got some super powerful recommendations for every section of your resume, so check out the free training in the description for more. And if we work together, I'll even share with you my personal executive resume. So on to the value that you bring to the table. Now, this is the biggest problem I see on 70 to 80% of all resumes that I've reviewed, and I've reviewed thousands of resumes across my career. The problem is that there isn't any, or there's too little specific measurable value listed on the resume. So what do I mean by this? What I mean is the measurable value that you've delivered in each of the jobs in your career. In other words, numbers. Now, you might be thinking, well, see, I haven't really delivered any measurable value. And to that I say, hogwash. Check this out. You could work at McDonald's and come up with a simple idea to move something closer to the drive-thru, for example, and it saves the team 5 seconds, but times 150,000 orders in a year, and that's over 12,000 labor hours that you saved, which could be worth $200,000. Now, how's that for something to talk about on your resume that might just get you to store manager someday? So is your current resume riddled with things like member of the XYZ team, or I led the ABC project, or member of the customer service team? None of those tell the reader why they need to care about you or your resume. That's because they don't show any value, and without value, you're going right into the old circular file. In fact, I've discussed this with more than 500 recruiters, and they all say the same thing. They spend more than 25% of their time helping job seekers to determine their value and then how to showcase that value on their resume and their LinkedIn profile. This is a big deal, folks, and the top area for improvement on almost every resume. So here's another example, this time with value from my own resume. So I designed and implemented a new PSYOP process that doubled the service level from 50% to 98+%, increased forecast accuracy by 76%, and brought lead time down by 6 days for a value of $3 million. Now, none of that is bragging. That's all facts. It's all measurable. It actually happened. I can explain and back up every inch of that statement because I lived it. So I know I killed this one to death, but it's needed because it's such a big problem on most resumes. Please do yourself a huge favor and turn at least 50% of every line in your resume into a clear statement of value, and watch the interest in your resume and in you blast to the moon. So now let's jump over to that luscious LinkedIn profile of yours. You do have one of those, right? Love it or hate it, LinkedIn is critical to your career success. It is your top method for externally marketing your value in the world, and 100% of recruiters live by it. So do, by the way, companies, internal recruiters that are searching for folks just like you. So you need to nail your LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn says that over 50% of folks have an incomplete profile. I hope that's not you. And even more than 50% do very little or nothing to showcase the measurable value on their LinkedIn profile. This is crazy to me. This is the number one tool recruiters use and other companies use, and they don't even complete it. You wouldn't think to do that with your resume now, would you? You want to think numbers, numbers, numbers. Here's just a few of some incredibly powerful things you want to consider to market your value on LinkedIn. So did you know it's pretty easy to become the number one most recommended person in your field on LinkedIn? That's right. With a little known trick called a recommendation exchange, and you're not going to learn this from LinkedIn itself. You can even do what I did and get a few snippets of these recommendations, move them up higher into your LinkedIn profile, and feature them up in your About section so that people don't miss them down at the bottom of your LinkedIn profile. Next up, did you know that you can start your own industry group? And it's quick and it's easy to do. You can even put it on autopilot or delegate it to someone else to run it if you don't want to. But you always will be able to say that you are the founder of the Ladies of Silicon Valley Tech or the nerdy engineers of the nether regions. You could even learn a thing or two from those other members and even get some help with networking. So check out starting your own industry group. Or how about becoming a thought leader in your space by writing just a short article every once in a while, posting it on LinkedIn, and then showcasing it in your featured section on your profile. Did you know that you can use that great big banner image at the top of the page to help market your value? Absolutely. The real estate is all yours. It's a blank canvas and the world is your oyster. And assuming you have a decent professional picture, you better have one of those, you gorgeous beast, that the two most important sections of your profile are the headline and the About section. The reason that these are so important is that they drive search on LinkedIn. So you want to spend extra time on these two sections. And in particular, you want to get some of that professional branding as well as massive value that we've talked about into that About section. I've got so much more I want to share with you on LinkedIn and your resume, and are you getting paid what you deserve, and how to win an industry award or two that recognizes your and your team's excellent work. And it's much easier than you think, by the way. So check out the free training in the description and subscribe for more insider career success tips. And if you've been hearing about quiet quitting and why you may or may not want to do it, you better watch this before you ruin your career and maybe your life.